In this episode of Performance Car Refurb, we bring in a GTR specialist to give us some tips on refurbishing Godzilla. In Performance Car Refurb, we follow two fourth-year apprentices as they learn collision repair tips as they refurbish a Nissan R32 Skyline GTR, a hero and modern classic of the performance car world. This R32 will soon have the show to match its go.
Coming into this project, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know anything about the car, but I was actually really glad that we had Tim here to do a run through in the beginning, just to highlight a few key areas and some things that may be a problem, but other things that may not be.
So Tim, as the GTR expert, was really beneficial to work with. When we first created the repair plan, or working through the phases of it, he was able to speed that process up so much by saying, you know, let's go straight to this, let's go to this, and let's go to this, because they're just key repair points for him in his own shop.
So on these, you've got a variety of materials, so that's probably one thing about the GTRs that you have to take note of. On this one, it's got an aftermarket, top secret, genuine carbon bonnet. The bumpers are a polypropylene blend. You've also got aluminium guards. On the standard ones, you've also got an aluminium bonnet. Rest of the body's all steel. Commonly on these GTRs, that front lip quite often gets damaged, particularly underneath. There's a few ways that you can go about repairing it. You can either go for a plasti weld and then refinish it. People tend to go with an aftermarket at this stage just because A, they can buy them cheaply or more expensively, but they can be easily repaired and they take a bit more damage than the polypropylene plastic does. So when you start pulling off the trims underneath, you'll start to look, and it's very common on these that you'll find rusted sections coming through from where the water over the years has come off the surface and trapped in between where the actual seal is and the body panel. On this one, you'll notice that the mirrors are a bit dulled off, so they're going to need a repaint. There's a very big difference between repairing on these, which are a thermoset, whereas your bumpers and everything else are a thermoplastic. Although cars, particularly GTRs, might look okay on the outside externally, that's when you start pulling everything off that you start seeing the true extent of what's underneath. When you start to remove your side skirts and your front and rear pods as well, often there's rust that goes through those sections and forms. The door handles, again, we're dealing with a thermoset plastic, can't be plasti welded. Down in this back section, that's another common area in through here. And right in this section here, you'll start to see rust forming because it gets in behind these and it just sits there. Every one of these at this stage with over 25 years on it, they all inside where the window sits underneath the rubbers, so you can't see it, it rusts out. And you'll see if you go wrong and you follow under the rubber, what happens is over the years, the rubber hits the sun, it pulls the rubber back and the water shoots off the roof, it goes down the side and it's trapped in under the bottom. And left alone, that'll all crinkle up and it'll form a surface that you can't really do much with. A lot of the cheaper jobs that get done, they'll try and just fill that with Celastic and hope that the owner doesn't see it. So there's a big difference between a glossy job being done and a proper job being done. Repairs on the wing, same deal, you're dealing with your polypropylene again. The tail lights too, you'll notice that they're an absolute pain to remove. When you get inside to do these tail lights, it's a Celastic seal, but over the years, people replace it with all sorts of different stuff. So just checking, particularly in behind these on the rear beaver panels, when you're pulling them apart, just whether there's any rust forming on that inside surface, it'll look like bubbling underneath the paint. You'll see up the top here that there's one big dent in there. Now, I don't know what's caused that, but just keep that swage through this line. It's a key visual point, so try and keep that as close to possible, bearing in mind it's not going straight, it's coming in a curve. Now, if you want a restoration, that's a very different thing and a different level to the panel shop cosmetic tidy up. A lot of people aren't at the point where they want to restore them just yet, so they want to extend the life, and so what they'll do is what similar we're doing here, which is a cosmetic refurbishment. The difference between panel shop jobs is, panel shops are set up for a price point. They work for insurance companies. Resto shops very different. Restoration work and panel work very different. Although the same basic skill set's there, it's just about doing it every day. So that's where the difference lies. And when you're talking about a motorsport purpose, a restoration's a very specific term. It means taking it back to OEM. With the motorsport stuff, they're used and abused. So trying to do a resto with a race car is not the right path. Doing more what we're doing here is the right path. This is how you would do it for any motorsport level car.
Anyone out there looking to get into something like this, it's hugely beneficial to approach even communities and social groups and clubs that get together, and then you meet with your experts. And these guys, like, they love this sort of stuff and they know what to look out for, just like Tim showed us. The best thing you can do is get in contact with them and just have a chat. And then, moving forward, you can collaborate with them, and it'll be a really smooth process doing that.
In the next episode, we begin the teardown process to see what damage there really is under the skin, so we can get started on the refurbishment.